Hello everybody, it's Glass Half Dead here with a Kill Team Chalnath battle report between the brand new Tau Pathfinders, from the Chalnath box obviously, and the Drukhari from the Compendium. Now the Tau do have several different loadouts they can take in regards to which slots you can fill in. I only went with 2 drones here. You're seeing a shield drone on the screen. I did not take him, just the 2, the gun and the recon drone. Now, if you find yourself looking at these and thinking, hey, these aren't painted with contrast and look a lot better than what he normally paints things as, then that's because these were commission painted by a guy called The Grim Wargamer on Instagram. So big thanks to him. I highly recommend you all go and check him out. Link is in the description. And after that, just 1 of every specialist and 1 iron rifle and 1 rail rifle. Equipment wise, the medic and the drone controller have the high intensity marker lights, which is when you tag someone with a marker light, it gets 2 tokens instead of 1. The blooded Pathfinder, or as you might be aware of him, the guy with the cyborg arm and the silent capable pulse carbine, has the target analysis optic. The target analysis optic is just whenever you fire at someone that already has a marker light token, they count as having 1 extra marker light token when you go over to the marker light token table. So if they only have 1 marker light token on them, when you shoot them with someone with the target analysis optic, they count as having 2 marker light tokens. And then next to the blooded there we have the comms. I can't remember what he's actually called. And that guy has the Orbital Survey uplink. This gives you the 2 AP ability skill called Orbital Scan, which is basically a top-down AoE marker light. There you go. There's more to it than that, but that's basically what it is. Now this was my first time piloting the Tau, so I would say that actually I definitely gave the Orbital Survey uplink to the wrong guy. This is the last person you want to give it to, because the Orbital Scan action costs 2 AP, which is then basically your comms completely used up. But the comms is obviously, as the comms guy is with all teams, the guy that has the ability where for 1 AP you can give another model an extra AP. By giving him the Orbital Scan action, he never got to use his comms ability. This was definitely a beginner mistake, because I didn't have too much time to think about who's getting equipment on the go. If I were to do this again, I would give the Orbital Survey uplink to somebody else. I'm thinking either the medic or the leader, and I'd actually probably drop 1 of the high intensity marker lights and instead give another target analysis optic, and I would give the 2 target analysis optics probably to the rail guys. But hey, first time mistakes, right? Then my opponent is playing the Drukhari. Let's just pretend that the few unpainted models there are, I don't know, using some sort of grey stealth field. That's why they're grey, I'm sure. Now keep in mind that I'm not overly familiar with Drukhari, and I'm not 100% sure what his loadouts were. I did take notes, but they were far from copious. He's taken a witch team and a Cabalite warrior team. He's got a splinter cannon and a blaster with the Cabalite warriors, and he's got a razor flail and the hydronet with the witches. The leader is the Hecatrix with an agonizer and a blast pistol, obviously, because why wouldn't you take that, right? For equipment, the splinter cannon has agonite, which basically gives agonite the relentless keyword, which is where you reroll any or all of your dice, which is obviously really good on the attack. 1 of the fighters has a plasma grenade, and then both the leader and 1 of the other fighters has Hypex, which gives them +1 inch to their movement. We're playing mission, I believe, 3.1, which is called Domination. This is the mission where you need to move within 1 inch of the center of an objective, perform the pickup action, and you then hold that objective. That disengages the objective. At that point, your operative is holding the objective and you can move wherever you want with it. If your operative dies, then they drop the objective. At that point, the objective cannot be picked up again as it is already disengaged, and all you have to do then is hold it like a normal objective, so be within 2 inches of wherever it is dropped. An operative can hold multiple objectives at the same time, and when they are then dropped, they're just dropped in the same place. Easy peasy. As you can see, we're playing on a pretty standard Octarius setup, except we swapped 1 of the large bits of scramble terrain for an Imperial statue, just another little bit of heavy cover to keep line of sights blocked a bit. Having given it a little bit more thought, what I would actually like to do with this board is take away the orc pump rig from the Octaria set and put something just a little bit larger for heavy terrain there. It can still be a vantage point, that's okay. And likewise the Imperial statue a little bit too small to really be effective for heavy area terrain. If we look to the bottom there, the building on the left ever so slightly has its vantage point hanging over the drop zone. So that was kind of the defining factor in this. Did you want to have the ability to deploy onto a vantage point? I had Defender, I won the initiative and I took Defender because I really wanted that, as obviously I have 2 silent weapons and I felt that would be a really good way to be able to dominate the battlefield. If you look at the sight lines there, they have amazing coverage of 3 of the objectives. That's half are like totally locked down by my snipers, and then potential like partial coverage of 2 more, but they're completely blocked from seeing 1. This was an amazing way for me to place that may well have, I mean, even if they didn't shoot much, they completely dominated the battlefield with those sight lines, possibly meaning that, you know, we should have had a little bit more heavy closer to the center of the board possibly. Now the drone controller has an ability where you can forward deploy a drone. As you can see, I put my gun drone on top of the fuel rig for the orcs there. Keep in mind with this piece of terrain, when it comes to measuring through those 2 oil canisters, they are over 1 inch thick and therefore I cannot shoot through them and I cannot be shot through them. So although it looks like he's totally dominating the field there, he's not, due to how terrain over 1 inch thick works there. He won the scouting phase by picking an additional barricade, whereas I picked a dash, which I ended up doing in the bottom left there on top of that vantage point where I dashed forwards my marksman operator dude, the special marksman there. And then because I had a recon drone on the board, that allows you to pick a second effect from the scouting phase, so I took infiltrate. So not only did I dash, not only did I forward deploy a drone thanks to the drone controller, but I also have the ability now to swap one of my tokens from a conceal to an engage. All of my guys are on a conceal apart from the recon drone, the leader and the rail rifle, who are in the shadow of the building all the way to the right there. You can't quite see them. And in case you're wondering why the tokens look weird, that's because these are the Art of War tokens, which I'm still testing, playing around with at the moment to see if I really like them or not before I do a proper review of them. All you need to know is that when you're looking down, you see all of my tokens at the bottom, you see that black section with a nice bright white bit. That means they have not been activated yet. Once they are activated, I flip the orange bit round, and so you no longer see the black and white. So if you just see an orange token, that means they've been activated. Easy peasy. These have the wound counters built into them, which on the table is actually quite nice and a cool little gadget thing to have. But for you guys, this is a bit of a negative for me personally, as someone trying to create battle reports. Just a D12 next to the operative would actually be way better for you guys to see how the operatives are doing with their wounds, etc. Okay, and just so you know what the format of this is going to be, I'm not going to be giving you a total play-by-play. I'm going to give you a little heads up when something vaguely interesting happens or when a particular action is played, and hopefully I can convey to you why it was done and why it was a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. And then I'm going to show the little videos of us rolling dice, and again, who knows, maybe I can say something insightful whilst we're rolling dice. And finally, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, if you're a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big circle hello. Wow, so wholesome, and I'm sure this will be a very wholesome battle report. If you would like more wholesome kill team content and battle report content, leave a like and subscribe, and that circle hello can be yours in the next video. Okay, let's get into it. He goes first playing fleet, whereas I don't play any ploys. He does something bold, I suppose, and ended up paying off for him. He just threw one of his Cavalite warriors right onto one of the middle objectives and picked it up. He was able to do that because of his fleet ploy, allowing him to both move and dash, and then the final action, pick up. I don't know why, but that's what he went for. Very bold. I had assumed that I was just going to shoot him and call it a day. Going over to my comms, remember I had mentioned that the equipment I gave him was a bit of a mistake. Regardless, I do the big AoE Markerlight tag thing, and I managed to get these 3 tagged with 1 Markerlight. Now I have managed to end up with all 3 of my tac ops being the 3 Tau faction tac ops. Not ideal, because 2 of them are exclusive to each other, so you cannot score the tac op 2 and the tac op 3 at the same time, but it is what it is. With his next activation, he fires his splinter cannon into my recon drone. That's 2 hits, 2 crits, and he has relentless, so re-rolls. But I actually roll surprisingly well, saving a crit and 2 normals. So he does a total of 8 damage to my recon drone. Going over to my recon drone, who is now injured, so it's only going to be hitting on 5s, is shooting at the guy that moved to pick up the objective. Luckily he has Ceaseless, gets to reroll 1, no luck, but that's still 3 shots. He saves 2 of them, so he just takes 4 damage. Moving on now, we see the Grenadier has moved up onto the point, but hasn't captured the point. Instead, he marker lit the splinter cannon at the back of the board there. My Transpectral guy moves up, jumping over the barricade, still doesn't pick up the objective, and instead marker lights somebody else. Obviously, they can't shoot as they are unconcealed, but I do have 1 flip in me from the infiltrate, and that's where the marker light token's gone. Faction tac op 1 is to get more than half of the enemy team to have a marker light token on them, so obviously that's what I'm going for here. And turn 1 is the easiest way to do this, because obviously most of your guys are going to be on conceal orders. Then we see my medic on the right of the screen here has moved up. I don't know what he's doing there. I presume he's just getting ready for the next turn. He has also marker lit the guy at the back there, and you see that guy now has 3 marker light tokens, because the medic was one of the ones that had the high intensity marker light. Now the drone controller is going to shoot the misplaced model at the back there. That is a hit and a crit. I spend a CP to reroll 1 of the dice, and it's good, it's a hit. He fails all of them, I think. No, this is a Cabalite Warrior, so he just fails 2 of them. So he's going to take 8 damage. He needs to make 1 more save or he's dead, and he takes the kill. Doesn't CP reroll. Later in the game, I asked him what went wrong there. He said that actually that was because he just didn't realize that was going to happen, and it was a misdeploy. Now my marksman is going to stay concealed, so firing the silent stun dart, and gets, that is 3 hits, and because of the marker light tokens, 4 hits. Now he's not using the lethal 5-up version, so there's no mortal wounds here, but this is just a solid 4 hits with a rail rifle, with I think 1 save, so that's 3 go through, and he's long gone. Minor thing to note, obviously killing this guy who has marker light tokens on him is potentially not always the best option, because this would possibly make me not be able to score my faction tac op 1, which is marker lights on over half the team. Now obviously a bunch of other stuff happens, but none of it was particularly exciting, so no need to mention it. We see on the right there, one of my rail rifles has moved up onto the vantage point. We see the drone that had forward deployed had moved onto the objective. Now he hasn't done anything. If you don't know, the drone controller can, for 1 AP, choose a drone to ignore the first 3 bullet points of artificial intelligence, which would allow him to actually pick up that objective and then move away as if he was a normal model as opposed to a mentally disabled drone. And obviously a slight disadvantage of me taking this photo is that you can't see any of the Drukhari apart from one of them. Now the one you can see has obviously done something. I believe I must have taken this picture a little bit late. This is actually after the first activation of the second turning point, and so what he did was he moved away from the center. He's still over half his hit points, so he's doing just fine, and he's picked up a second objective. Now if I don't kill him this turn, he's probably going to be able to swap to a conceal and hide from me for the rest of the game with 2 objectives, which is pretty big. Regardless, the score at the end of turn 1 was 2 to me, as I had picked up one of the objectives at the back there, the one closest to my deployment zone, and I had also scored the Markerlight objective, the Markerlight tac op, so that was good, whereas he had only picked up 1. Obviously, now that we're looking at this photo, he's picked up 2, so technically, right this moment, we are at an even score. As we can see here, he's just a regular Cavalite warrior with a splinter rifle, which if you don't know is a 2-4 damage weapon, has moved up and gotten to within circle of my model. So even though my guy is within eligibility of cover, because he's close enough, I'm not going to be able to retain a cover roll. So he gets 3 hits, 2 crits. Very oddly, just there. So when playing with the dice tray, I always re-roll whenever a dice goes out. I believe he wasn't familiar with that rule, and it actually came up 3 times in our game. Now, if I remember, this is a Tau, so I only have a 5-up save. So I save 1, and I then roll the dice, and I save it again. Now, I felt really bad at this point, because I had just, in his view, failed the roll, and then I said, actually, there's a reason to re-roll, don't you know? And I re-rolled and I made the save. This came up at least 1 more time, maybe 2 more times, where he rolled an attack and it came out, and I said, oh, can you re-roll it? Because it went out. And he re-rolled it from a hit to a miss, and I felt really bad. So that's something to keep in mind. If it had been the other way round, I think there was one time actually where I did roll a hit that went outside of the box and I re-rolled to a miss. I'm totally happy with re-rolling to my failure, but yeah, it felt pretty awkward. And because of that re-roll, he doesn't kill me. I end up taking just 2 damage. Now my Grenadier is going to throw the first fusion grenade of the match into the Splinter Right cannon, or just the regular Cavalite warrior. So there's a crit there, that's an immediate 3 mortal wounds. It might even be lethal 5-up, I'm not sure. Regardless, the fusion grenade works. I'm going to spoil it for you guys. Yeah. He makes 1 save. Now he's also taken inured to suffering, so he gets a 6-up feel no pain. Now we have his blaster shooting very unfortunately into my rail rifle. That's a crit. Again, I'm not sure if it's a lethal 5-up, it might be. Either way, I'm taking an immediate, I think, 3 mortal wounds. He opts to CP reroll. No, he doesn't, but it's an AP2 weapon, so I only roll 1 dice, I fail, I'm dead. That was pretty brutal, but that's what a blaster is supposed to do, so I can't complain too much. Now my gun drone has made a big move to try and get a line of sight. I go for a shot. Luckily, I have Relentless, so I reroll all of my dice, and I get 1 hit. Everybody complaining about Grey Knights and how good Relentless is can take a step back. Thank you. Anyway, he automatically saves it as he was in cover still. Now for this turn, I had ended up using Recon Sweep, I believe. I think that's what I did here. Long story short, this guy moved up. This is the medic. Moved up to the objective, picked it up, and then used a free dash to move further away so that I hopefully couldn't be charged. And that's me getting another VP for picking an objective up. Unfortunately, at this point, a witch charged. Now the witch chose to not fight the drone and instead pick up the objective. A totally legitimate tactic, as certainly if it comes down to me getting an overwatch, that drone could be very powerful. And I then moved up this model. Again, my comms, so this means he's not doing his top-down AoE Markerlight thing, or giving anybody else an APL, but whatever. I moved dashed to be within red of this combat, and I then used the tactical ploy supporting fire. This allows you to shoot into engagement range, basically, and then you just get to make a shooting attack, and I just made it. 4 dice, needing 4s, I get 3 hits, including a crit. Not bad at all. Now I opt to spend a CP to reroll this because I really want this witch dead, apparently. And that's a pretty good reroll, not gonna lie. Now the witch is getting a 5-up invuln save, but that's 14 damage on the clock there. And he needs 6-ups to save them, so I even just stopped recording. He rolled all 14 dice. He did not save enough though. So obviously I managed to kill that witch. Unfortunately, another witch, I think this is a witch, not a Cavalite warrior, charged all the way around my drone, so it has a little bit of cover just in case I try to shoot at it again, although you can't do a ploy twice in the same turning point, so apart from command point reroll, so couldn't do that, but not the point. This is just generally good positioning. So hops around to the other side, goes for a melee kill on the drone there. I rolled 2 dice because I don't know why. Is that the only dice I get? I thought I got 3, but I rolled 2. So anyway, I got no hits because it's a drone. He gets 4 hits and he whacks my drone a lot. You could say he whacks me off if you want to view it that way. Now something odd happened here. So he opted to not kill me. He opted to instead hit. And then, so take me down to as low hit points as he could, and then parry the rest as he wanted me to stay alive. I can't remember why. It was something to do with one of his tac ops, I believe. However, we then got to the end of the turning point, and he realised that if he had killed the drone, then he would deny me a VP. And I said, look, you rolled enough dice. If you want to just pretend that you killed the drone, go for it, that's fine. Even though it was, you know, several activations later, I was like, it's fine, go ahead, just say you killed the drone, no big deal. So he opted to do that. So he didn't kill the drone, but then later I gave him the option to have changed his mind and say yes, he wanted to kill the drone, as that would deny me a VP. However, I think he then later on said, oh yeah, the reason I didn't kill your drone was because it could get me a VP. So he opted to deny instead of gain. There we go. So you see, this is the drone down to 3 health left, not dead though. But then at the end of the round, it is dead. But then later, he will wish that he hadn't killed it. There you go. Very convoluted, I realise. This is Overwatch. Yep. So the blaster is going to overwatch my leader, I'm going to assume. Hits me with a crit and a normal. I retain 1 for cover, I assume. Oh, he spends a CP to roll 1 more. It hits. He dealt 6 damage. There was nothing for me to do. And this is the table wrap up for the end of Turning Point 2. Everything's moved around. We've had some more people pick up tokens. I didn't manage to get my Marker Light tac op again because I think I killed the wrong one, which meant I didn't quite score it. And then in this round, I was trying to get shots instead of Marker Lights. As you can tell, I've been relatively static now in this turn. Yes, I pushed forward with the Grenadier to throw a fusion grenade, but everybody else is just kind of shooting. I feel that is poor play by me. I feel that I should try to be more aggressive. This is something about me in general. I'm trying to play more aggressively, and I'm trying to be less of a shooting gallery player. Now, obviously with Tau, you might think they've got such good shooting, surely that's how you should play them. And I think that's only how you should play them on a bad board. I feel like they have so much access to dashes and being fast. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. I didn't use Recon Sweep. I used the Montcar ability from my leader. That's why everyone had a free dash. There you go. Not that that matters, but everyone had a free dash because of the Montcar ability from my leader. There you go. So I'm generally trying to be more aggressive. And Tau, although they're shooting and you really don't want to be in melee with them, I still feel like there is a way to play this game where you are very mobile, even with a shooting team. And of course, you have to push up the board. You have to move up to get objectives. I need to learn myself better how I can do this properly. So into the third turning point now, and I managed to get initiative, which was very lucky because I really wanted to use my Grenadier again before he got charged and killed by the Hecatrix. Now, note that he's currently within capturing range or controlling range of 2 objectives there, so that's very nice for me. And he's about to throw another fusion grenade into the Hecatrix. The Hecatrix, don't forget, all witches 5-up in bomb save. So, let's see how that goes for the Hecatrix. That's 4 hits. Yes, Tau normally have a 4-up BS, but the grenades specifically are 3s. This is just me explaining to him that there are no mortal wounds, but he fails it. Now, he did use Inert to Suffering again. He again rolled 16 dice. He didn't quite make enough 6s though, very sadly. Okay, now here we have a witch that charged my ion rifle Pathfinder. This Pathfinder, as you can vaguely see by the 2 tokens next to him, is already holding 2 objectives. So this is a potential game changer. I get charged, and then for some reason the video cuts. I think he stopped to ask me a question, so the video cuts and we actually miss his roll, but we just swap over and we see that he's made the roll. He fluffed the roll somewhat. You see, he missed with 2, hit with 2, and then I rolled a 4 and a 5, which I assume is actually only 1 parry. That's right, a 4 and a 5. So it's just the 1 hit. He hits me, I parry, and that's it. So I just take, I think it's the 3 or the 4 damage. He does a CP reroll. It goes out, and I say reroll it. And it goes to a 1 instead of a hit. And that's when I felt bad about it. Yeah. You know, when you charge into a tower with a witch, you're hoping for some death. Not getting it is harsh, even though it does leave me, I believe, injured with only 3 health left. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That was a big play. It didn't pay off. I use, I can't remember what it's called, the ploy that allows you to fall back. So it costs you 1 CP, and it allows you to make a dash move, and it allows that dash to occur whilst you're within engagement range. Basically, it lets you do a short fallback move for 1 CP. So this guy falls back, and now he can shoot because he still has 1 action point left instead of fallback, which normally has a cost of 2. Now obviously I am wounded, so instead of hitting on, I'm either hitting on 4s or 5s. Let's see what I roll. It doesn't matter. It's 3 hits, 2 hits, 2 crits, 1 hit. He blocks 2. It's 5 damage, and inured to suffering, he only takes 4 damage. I've got to be honest, much like he felt he should have done more with his witch charging me, I felt I should have done more with my ion rifle shooting him. Obviously I didn't want to make it hot, because a single mortal wound and I would have died. Well, a single hot roll, which is 3 mortal wounds, and I would have died. He's now firing with his blaster into, this looks like the Grenadier. It's 3 hits, AP2, so I only get 1 roll, and it's a fail, and that is a very dead Grenadier, sadly. To be fair, the Grenadier though managed to do, 2 fusion grenades, killed 2 models, so that's called good trading. I have now moved up this Pathfinder. I can't remember what his name is, but he's the one that has the trans-spectral special targeting thing. It doesn't have any effect in this particular instance. It just means that an enemy won't be obscured. So if they're further than circle beyond a piece of heavy terrain, I would still be able to shoot them. But as you can see, I'm within circle, so he doesn't get any cover save. He has a marker light on him, which means I can re-roll 1 dice of this shot. Which is lucky, because I'm only hitting twice there. I then get the marker light re-roll. which goes out to a hit, and I reroll to a miss. That's when I felt good about me pointing out that rule. That's when I felt, because, yes, good. I then CP reroll to get a second hit. Well, one hit, one crit, 2 hits. He makes 2 saves, so I still do 5 damage. Now over to the other side of the board, his witch has charged into my medic. This is the medic that earlier made a move, picked up the objective, and then dashed back. Apparently, I didn't dash far enough. This witch was still able to get stuck in. It's only 2 hits, so a crit and a hit. They have rending, and I only get 1 hit, which means I can't block anything, so he hits me, I hit him, he kills me. This allows the drone controller to move up to get a shot on the witch that just killed my medic. It's a pretty big hit. That's, 3 hits. I re-roll somehow into a crit, whether that was a CP or a marker light, doesn't really matter. And that is a very dead witch. What is that? It's an insane 17 damage, 18 damage. We then go back over to my comms, who had to do a little bit of a wiggle, a slight retreat, because he had moved his Cavalite warrior up into the corner. This was to get plant banners. He obviously wanted to get one of his guys into my deployment zone and then just die. He's fine with dying at this point, I think. I only need 1 shot to go through, as he's on 4 health, I believe. I only hit once though. There's a marker light, so I get a marker light reroll. It's a miss. So it's just the 1 dice. And he saves it handily. Now that was a bit of an issue because of course him dropping the banner in my deployment zone is really bad for me. I had 2 ways to get to possibly attack that guy that's dropping a banner. It was both the recon drone or the marksman rail rifle guy who's up on the vantage point. I also had this witch that my recon drone I obviously decided is going to shoot in the end. I really needed to get both of these kills, because otherwise this witch is still there and able to, on 4 health, so not even on -1 to hit or move yet. So this is a real threat, and I needed to kill both. I needed to kill the Cavalite warrior for the VP, and then I needed to kill this witch to stop them from killing my ion rifle, which would then, not 100%, but would give them a good chance of being able to hold both of those objectives that iron rifle drops. Now, that's a huge roll. I don't even need to use my Relentless on it. I should have used my Relentless on it, to be clear. But yeah, 2 crits, 2 hits, no saves. We then go over to my rail rifle, who is now going to shoot at this plant banner model. So it's a crit, and this particular model hits on a 3 instead of a 4. Marker light reroll. It's 2 hits, 1 crit. It's not looking good for the Drukhari, who has a 4-up save now. So that was just him rolling for his inert to suffering on the mortal wounds alone, because that particular shot I just did has lethal 5-up. Each crit is 3 mortal wounds, so he actually took 6 mortal wounds before anything else even happened. So we now go into the final turning point 4. He had initiative on this. He jumped up there with his blaster, trying to make a final big play sort of thing. If he did, apparently I didn't record the roll, because I could tell we were so close to the end. It must have not affected anything if I also didn't take a picture of the model dying. I then decided to return fire using my 1-shot, 1-kill beast of a man Tau dude, marksman into him. Oh, now you see I rolled out as a hit and I rolled back in as still a hit. Unfortunately still a hit, but yeah. I was oddly insistent on that. He was like, oh, I'll take the 5, it's fine. I was like, no, I'm re-rolling this. Anyway, he takes a crit and 3 regular hits. He retains 1 from cover and fails 2, and he's dead. And that's actually the game. In the bottom right hand corner there, we can see that he dropped the banner upon death, and we have my red gauge there, showing that actually I didn't have enough speed to be able to move and destroy his banner for 1 APL. So he just scored that, fair enough. And apart from that, I wiped him off and then won on primaries. Now, technically, I'm actually scoring like an insane amount. I think I'm scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm scoring 8 primaries at the end here. But you can only ever score 4 maximum per turn on primaries. So I didn't actually score 8. When it comes to secondaries, I also didn't score particularly well there either, because I didn't get marker lights, and I don't think I got either of my others either. Now, if I had really thought it through, or no, I think actually, sorry, I tell a lie. I did score the faction tac op 2, which is where if you score more primary points and have over half of your team on a conceal order, then you score that VP. So for all 3 of my tac ops, I scored each of them once. So I got 3 from tac ops, and throughout the entire game, I think I wrote it down somewhere, but I've lost it. I scored 7 on the primary. So my total score was 10. 7 primary, 3 tac ops. I believe his final score was around, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was 5 or 6. And there you go. That's the end of Tau versus Drukhari. How did I feel about the Tau who are on screen now? First off, again, I would like to say lovely paint job by the Grim Wargamer. Go check him out on Instagram. Big thanks to him. This was, so again, my first time playing them. I felt like they were very strong, but I could also totally see, at least at my skill level, how they can be countered. And actually, I do think that the Novitiates would play quite well into Tau on the correct board. I have played both of the teams exactly 1 time now, so I'm hardly an expert. I definitely felt like the Tau was stronger. But if there's a lot of heavy terrain, I think the Novitiates will run away with it. I think that if you run a Novitiate, any of them, into a Pathfinder, the Novitiate wins. And if the Tau fail to shoot the Novitiates, there's not much they're going to be able to do, let's be honest. However, Tau shooting will blow away any Novitiate. You need 2 normal hits with any weapon and they're dead. And okay, they have a 50-50 save, right? A 4-up save, the Novitiates. But anyway, I'm not really trying to compare Novitiates to Tau. They're just the last team I played before Pathfinders, and they come for the Chalnath box. All in all, I felt more confident with the Tau. However, going forwards, I suspect we are going to see a lot of Tau. And because of that reason alone, I probably won't actually be playing my Pathfinders too much. I'm really happy I've got the team painted. It means that I can pull them out at any time if I want to do some battle reports or some channel content for them. But I don't think they're going to be a team that I play on a regular basis. Which is a bit of a shame that I'm such a hipster. Because actually, I do think, conversely, that eventually, like, now that I feel I have the core rules down, I'm going to want to pick a main of a faction to really get my head around the game. And I actually think that Tau could be that faction. Not just because I think they're really good, but I also think they're a great mix of teaching you to play mobility with all of their dashes and ranged shooting without and so kind of that mixture of no, you cannot get into melee. So that you have to, it forces you to think of everything in threat ranges as opposed to just kind of shooting and oh, he's got a melee weapon, I need to make sure he can't charge me. It's like, no, you need to know the threat range, not just the dude has a scary melee weapon. And I think that kind of thing would probably push me to be a better player if I really focus on it. But as said, probably not going to happen because they are too good, I suspect. Although with that said, you know, commandos are currently dominating, so I actually think that commandos will play very well into Tau. Still, I think commandos are super solid into Tau. Drukhari. So I've heard a lot about the Drukhari. They are a very scary looking team. They're good at what they do. They're combined arms. They've got access to, you know, the blaster, the dark lance, and a blast pistol. Like all three of those in a list would be super scary. You can kill. You're popping custodes if you're taking those Cavalites, you know. And then witches. I don't know too much about the witches. Obviously, their big thing is once you really learn how to play around their... I can't remember what it's called, but it's the thing, not immune to suffering, the thing that essentially makes them GA2. If they go along and get a kill, they can for 1 CP, let another model get essentially activate immediately, get an additional APL, and either shoot or fight twice. So if you can start to chain that, I think Drukhari have a lot of potential, but you know, they're elves, so they're only 8 wounds and they're 5 up saves generally, apart from the Cavalites that are 4 ups. But you know what, they are 10 models. They are 10 models, and recently I've been playing a lot of Craft Worlds and I'm really struggling. You know, playing Craft Worlds and then looking over at Drukhari that have 2 extra models, I'm like, oh man, I'd really like that. 2 extra models and access to all that fusion blast weaponry. Anyway guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. I hope you've enjoyed this battle report. I'm still tweaking this format. I'm trying to find something. I think the next, I've already recorded the next one. It was Necrons versus Tactical Marines. I was the Necrons. I'm going to put that out hopefully during the week. It was an, well, let's just say it was a massacre. And I won't say who won, but it was an absolute bloodbath. So hopefully that will come out. That's going to be the same format as this, but after that I'm going to try a slightly different format to see if I can make that work. Again, you know, I'm trying to go for kind of a minimum effort, maximum result, see what the best ratio there is. You know, the amount of effort this takes, all things considered, isn't terrible, but I think that I might get something. It will be very different, but it might be equally watchable. I'll definitely try one. If it works, then I might go with that over this. Failing that, I will just do this again, and I will try to be a bit better with taking pictures as opposed to just filming the dice rolls, because I think the dice rolls are fine. They're technically the action, but I actually think that if I just took more pictures, and I could probably say this guy killed this guy, and if I can actually, you know, articulate a little bit and weave a little bit of a narrative into it, it could make for better watching than just, oh look, people are rolling dice. Anyway, just something I'm considering, that's all. If you watch this far, thank you so much. Honestly, watching till the end of a video is the best thing you can do to help a small YouTube channel like mine. If you want more Kill Team content, jump over to my Patreon. There is a podcast that I do called The Vantage Point. I came up with it before Warhammer Community, I promise. And it's just a little podcast. It's kind of the only additional Kill Team content that isn't out there for free for everyone, so consider that if you want to help support me. I just had Battle Brothers Tabletop with me over there. I'm hoping to get a few more other kind of smaller YouTubers to come on, and hopefully I can help promote their channels a little bit, or at least just have a chat so my patrons can get to know them a little bit. Anyway guys, this has been Glass Half Dead. If you've watched to the end of the video, I would like to give you a big square hello. Gosh, the wholesomeness knows no bounds. If you are one of the smaller YouTubers, drop me a DM on Discord, and we can set up a time to have a little chat on my Vantage Point at some point, okay? Everybody, thank you very much. I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.